Next up, we have Paul Reeves returning with his second presentation on new tracks. This is an idea to localize your layout. Um, it's time period and location using postcards. So, Mr. Paul Reeves, glad to have you this evening.
Thank you, Tom. It's nice to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to share some thoughts with you. Um, by the way, I really enjoyed your uh, making that Watchman Tower look very realistic.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Great job. Um, I, I've always been interested in miniature scenes. I don't know what was the lure, but it's always enjoyed seeing things put together so that you believe it's a real place or it's a replica of a real place. And so, one of the things that maybe you don't think about, at least as much as you might think about the scenery around your tracks and buildings and structures, is the backdrop. I think that a believable backdrop is key to making your layout stand out. Um, I think you have to you can consider a backdrop as essentially one of the I guess uh, parts of a unique and overall design because you can do it your way. Um, a quality backdrop adds depth to your 3D scenery, enhance realism. Um, in my layout that I had, I don't have any more, but I simply curved the corners of the room as it was being built, and that took away the difficulty of taking photographs. With no corners, the photographs are of the sky and the backdrop looked like it was infinity, and it was really cool the way that simple trick did had it worked. As I said, it softens the corners and creates a seamless look. I'll have a photograph in just a minute of that. But one of the things I think is important is it allows you to localize your scenes and structures so that if you have someone come to visit your layout, or if you send someone photographs of the layout, that particular thing that localizes the scenes and structures and localizes your railroad really will stand out and it will be unique to you. And it just makes your layout unique and adds character. Um, Here's where my idea started. I was in the. I'm an attorney. I was taking a deposition in an office, and this what's called a pen and ink drawing of Main Street in Columbia, South Carolina, was on the wall. In real life, this is about a 3 by 3 huge print, and I thought, wow, what a great opportunity to gain some visualization of what structures, what the city of Columbia looked like in 1938 when this was drawn. And this is looking from one of the streets, is Hampton Street, intersection of Hampton and Main, looking south. Like some capitals, Columbia, the main street literally dead ends into the front of the Capitol. It used to be a parking lot there. You could do a U-turn and come around, but due to security concerns, they've changed that. But in any event, when I saw this, I thought I was just starting my layout. In fact, the bench work was up, but I thought, what a great idea as a backdrop. And so I had met this young lady who was an art teacher. She was a single mom, looking for some extra work. And I showed her this and I said, can you put that on my backdrop? I want to build out from that the 3D models, but I want this in the background. And I'd like it to where it gives you the very realistic impression that you're looking down a long Main Street, even though most of it will be part of the painting. So I asked I asked the guy at this office, "Hey, can I take your print for a couple of days?" And he thought I'd been drinking, so he didn't know what to do. So I finally got him to let me take it. I brought it, I put it on the easel. Kelly came over. I was paying her literally $20 an hour to do this, and she painted this backdrop. Okay, so this is all, of course, black and white. Well, I wanted to get, by the way, this is the same location looking north. That building is Sylvan's Jewelers, one of the more unique buildings in Columbia. But anyway, I found these postcards online, and these postcards had at least the postcard author's rendition of what these colors look like. Also, most of the Main Street buildings were in much the same condition color wise that they had been when that pencil and ink drawing was done in the late 30s, early 40s. So we had some references about what that color looked like, some of the signage, some of the also the details. And so I gave her this, and we then also had another postcard that was, again, pretty much the same view, just another way to look at the color here. So I gave this to her. She commenced to paint on this backdrop, and I cannot begin to tell you how much better it turned out than I anticipated, mainly because of her talent in showing depth of field and a vanishing horizon. Those are art terms I didn't know anything about at the time, but she tried to explain it, and I really didn't understand it. But part of this is just because she was a really, really good artist. And so, she started this work. And what happened is the scene in front of you now. Um, the structures to the left were chooch facades. The structures to the right were, I bought those from a estate sale, and they were scratch built buildings. I think, most of them were. Maybe that might be a chooch building on the right. So what you have in my layout from the wall, this area you're looking at downtown, came out. It was about 3 feet 9 inches. That is the depth you're looking at. So we put I put track against the wall behind the 3D structures to give that break a little bit of to camouflage that break. You got tracks there, so it took the edge off that meeting of a 90-degree between the 3D portion and the wall that she had painted. By the way, I may have mentioned this in some earlier appears on here. After Kelly did the backdrop, this scene right here, I don't care what I did. I don't care how nice everything else was. The first question everybody asked was, who painted the city of Columbia? So for me, this particular scene localized it. Not a person that came to my layout didn't recognize, ever had any problem recognizing that's Main Street in Columbia. And it was all done with an artist brush, and then we built out these buildings. By the way, this photograph was taken by one of the sponsors here, Dennis Brennan, and did a great job with just capturing this scene. And the scene turned out really, really, really nice, much better than I anticipated. I think the painting by Kelly was, I think, about $110, based on her hourly rate. Now she's retired to Colorado. She does commissions, and she didn't have time to paint these kinds of things anymore, but super talented artist. And so as far as closing, I wanted to show you, this is a photo. This is actually 3D, but this is what a curved wall backdrop will do for you. It makes it look like that horizon goes on forever. And by the way, the painting, the wall color, the sky color was simply a light blue with some shading. Kelly also added clouds and some storm kind of things in that. So anyway, I would encourage you that if you want to really make an impression on someone as far as localizing the scene, whether it's local to your location now, or whether it's local to something that you grew up with, or where there's a special place. Because when I first started in this hobby, most of the train was sort of oriented toward the Northeast. The South was more of a rural area and agrarian, so the railroads that came through were not nearly as industrialized as they were in the Northeast. But anyway, there was always super nice places that everybody recognized. Hey, that's the Pennsylvania, that's the New York Central. So I found this in the city of Columbia as being a way to localize this layout for me, and I would encourage you to consider that. And so that's how the idea came about, and with some talented people other than me, it came out to be a good scene.
That's a very interesting concept, Paul, to take postcards, antique postcards, and then have commercial artists put in a backdrop. a lot of people don't consider that, like I live in a college town, Indiana University, and here in Bloomington. And I'm sure if I looked, I could find an artist that, I don't know what the rate would be, but that's something people should consider. Because if you look at the cost of a backdrop, I have a backdrop of my layout behind me here. It was thousands of dollars, a couple grand, and there's a certain charm about an original painting. And
I actually got Kelly's name out of a bowl at a consignment store. They have people's cards up there, and I took it home, and she actually was a high school art teacher and started doing private, what they call, um, I'm not sure, commissions,
yeah,
and has become her paintings are all over South Carolina right now. She's in Colorado, but anyway, yes, she would have. I mean, she was very inexpensive, and she did that painting on her knees. I mean, she was literally there for about a half a day, and all of a sudden, I had a 3D backdrop. So 3D looking backdrop.
you happen to know if she painted it in acrylic or oil, or do you know? Just
It's acrylic.
curious.
Acrylic.
Okay.
Yep.
And the what was the material that she painted on? Was that masonite or
Sheetrock,
sheetrock?
drywall. Yeah.
Oh, right on the drywall.
We painted right on the right. When I sold that house in the garage, and I left there. I took the layout down, and this guy who I think his passion was automobiles. He had a nice little City of Columbia backdrop. I think he painted over it. But in any event, she used acrylics. She also used a level and a ruler to get those
Yeah,
lines right. The straight up the tall buildings.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, and then filled it in with the paint, and just very, very good job on her part. I can't take any credit for that other than I had the idea.
It certainly is a nice look to have an original painting, and especially somebody, an artist. So a very, very interesting program. Any
Well,
questions?
I appreciate being available. Thank you.
Any questions for Paul this evening? Well, thank you for your presentation. We look forward to future presentations. And I got to speak to Dennis. Those are nice photographs too. I assume he took both of those. Yeah.
I took the second one. He took that one. Plus, there's 7 others that were focused for him, and those were published by Classic Toy Trains in 2019.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, I really like it. Very well done. How did you do the lighting on that?
The miniature lighting or the real lighting?
The real lighting, because of the shadows, it's almost perfect.
Well, I had basic can lighting in the layout room, so I can't. I mean, there's nothing really special. I think part of what you're looking at though is she meshed those colors so well that you had sort of the natural feel for it when you looked at it. But there was no really special lighting other than I had can condensate lights.
Now, kudos on it. It's very, very, very well done. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I never got any attention to any part of my layout other than that. That's always the first question is who did your backdrop? And we could have had the Taj Mahal in the left corner. Nobody would have paid attention to that.
Well, they had a railroad in India.
It is very nice,
Yeah, very nice indeed.
Thank you for letting me be on.